Hello and welcome to the 5th edition of our Investment Insight series, Magellan Minutes. My name is Jennifer Herbert, Head of Listed Funds at Magellan, and today I'm joined by Infrastructure Investment Analyst Yath Suthaharan. Today we'll be discussing the value industrials bring to the Magellan portfolio, what we like about the portfolio holding Safran, and how industrials may benefit from the move to net zero carbon emissions. Thanks for joining us today, Yath.
No problems, anytime.
Yath, industrials manufacture and distribute capital goods in industries such as aerospace and defence, construction and engineering, electrical equipment and heavy machinery. What do industrials bring to the Magellan portfolio?
Yes, it's a good question, Jen. So Magellan ultimately seeks to invest in quality companies at attractive prices. We deem a quality company to be that which is an advantaged business model that enables it to earn attractive returns for shareholders over time. And ideally, we would like to invest in quality companies that also benefit from a secular tailwind. So the combination of these two characteristics, so the advantaged business model on the one hand and the secular tailwind on the other, should allow these companies to exhibit attractive and potentially even improving financial performance over time. And what we really mean here by financial performance is returns on capital employed that are in excess of the company's cost of capital over the long term. To determine that, whether a company is selling at an attractive price, we first value it, which is really an exercise in forecasting the cash flows of the business. And then we assess that relative to the share price to see whether the share price is at a significant discount to our assessment of the company's intrinsic value. And ultimately, the significant discount is quite important. So that's what we do at Magellan more broadly. Now, bringing that back to industrials for a moment, our approach here is absolutely no different. Now, industrials is a large but disparate sector in the sense that there are companies with a variety of different business models and different end market exposures. So what we're currently in the process of doing is basically mining this sector to find companies that meet those two criteria that we spoke about earlier.
And Safran's one of the industrials in the portfolio. It's the second largest aircraft equipment manufacturer. What is it we like so much about Safran that it's managed to get a place in the portfolio?
Yeah, so the short answer to your question, Jen, is that Safran is a high quality company with attractive returns on capital that also benefits from the secular growth in air travel. So Safran has a number of great businesses that sit within the commercial aerospace supply chain, but the two businesses that we are most attracted to are aircraft engines and wheels and brakes. So together these businesses account for roughly about 70% of the enterprise's profit on our estimates. And just to be clear, the aircraft engines portion is a much bigger chunk. Safran's attractive returns on capital are in a large part actually a function of both of these businesses having exceptional market positions in what we would consider to be favourable duopoly industry structures. So let me just dive a bit deeper into each of these businesses to give you a bit of a flavour. So on aircraft engines, and so narrow body here is the most important bit for Safran. Safran, in partnership with its partner General Electric via their joint venture CFM, they have a monopoly position on every engine installed on the Boeing 737, and they have 60% or close to 60% market share, I should say, on the Airbus A320. So just for context, the Boeing 737 and the Airbus A320, these are the two most dominant aircraft that are used by airlines around the world for short-haul travel. So think Sydney to Melbourne. Now, if you move over to the wheels and brakes piece, the situation here is really not that different. On the narrow-body aircraft side, Safran has greater than 60% share or around 60% share. And on the wide-body aircraft side, it has about 50% share or a bit more than that. And just to be clear, wide-body is really used for international travel. So now that we've sort of spoken a bit about the quality characteristics, I'll touch a bit on the economics. So both these businesses generate virtually all of their profit from the sale of spare parts to airlines. And the sale of spare parts is ultimately, more or less correlated to air passenger volumes. once again, I'll dig deeper, on aircraft engines. Okay, the sale of spare parts here is ultimately linked to the number of cycles that an engine does. And what I really mean by cycles is, turning the engine on and off. Bit harder than that, obviously, in real life. On the wheels and brakes side, Safran has contracts with most airlines that basically dictate that the airline needs to pay Safran a fixed fee per landing, which ultimately is driven by air travel. So that's why we think Safran's a quality company.
Thanks, Jeff. That is super interesting. And we continue to hear about the opportunities that are presenting with the transition to net zero. How do industrials benefit from that transition?
For the world to get to net zero, basically two key things need to happen. The first one is that we need to shift our reliance away from fossil fuels as our primary source of energy towards electricity. That's the first thing. The second thing would be that the electric grid needs to decarbonize. What I mean by that is move over to zero carbon forms of energy like wind and solar. Now, this exercise is going to require a significant amount of capital investment, with some, I think, third-party sources suggesting that cumulatively you need about $150 trillion over the period to 2050. And just to put that in context, we've spent about cumulatively, I think, $1 trillion or a bit under up until 2021 on the energy transition. So, putting two and two together, there's a lot of capital investment left to come. So, given that there's a lot of capital investment, or there's this wave of capital investment coming, we think that a fertile hunting ground for companies that have quality characteristics and also benefit from secular tailwinds, the two criteria we talked about earlier that fits Magellan's investment framework. We think that companies leveraged to this energy transition could be potentially quite attractive.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for your insights today.
No problem. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Magellan distribution team, and feel free to share this update with clients and colleagues as you see fit. Take care and see you soon.